It was July of 1973. I had just turned 16 years old. Was at Glorietta Baptist Conference Center, which was the cousin of Ridgecrest at one time before Southern Baptist started selling everything off. And it was yeah, thank you. I see that hand. It was at that time that I committed my life to some kind of ministry, to some kind of calling. 2.5 years later, January of 1976, I attended my first ever gathering for sports and recreation ministries. And some of you are familiar with the old rec lab that they used to have, and that was the first one at 18. For 45 years, I have attended some kind of recreation-based gathering since that day. Now I see some of the minds clicking. You're thinking 18 in January, 45 years, and you're right, I'm 48 years old. 45 years, can you believe that? That's a lot of time for gatherings, but more importantly, and I think you'll feel my pain, that's been a lot of time that I have received all kinds of teasing and abuse for being a sports and recreation minister. How many of you face that? What do you do for a living? Well, I'm a sports and recreation minister. How hard can that be? How many of you have been there? Feel my pain? Huh? Yeah. The worst one was I met this lady on an online dating site, and don't get me started on that whole theology. But she said, well, what do you do for a living? And I said, I teach in sport and recreation administration. And she said, what's a sport and recreation? Like it's all one word. And so I said, well, your kids play youth baseball, right? She said, yeah. And I said, well, we're the guys that get everything ready. The field's ready, the umpires are lined up, the coaches are trained. And I went through a litany of like 17 things you have to do just to get one baseball or softball game going. And she says, well, it ain't rocket science, is it? No, it's not. I remember numerous times coming back to the church from an extensive sports mission trip or a 12-day senior adult trip, and people in the church would say, how was your vacation? You know, I loved my church people to death, but I did not want to vacation with them. And I had one lady one time on one of those trips called me at 11 at night and said, I've forgotten my blood pressure medicine. And I said, well, how major is it? She said, I'll die by morning. We were in a place where I took a cab. This was pre-Uber and Lyft, so I took a cab because the bus driver couldn't drive anymore, so I took a cab to the nearest Walgreens. And it was in a neighborhood where the cab driver didn't want to stay and wait for me. So I had to call another cab from inside Walgreens. And so when I delivered the medicine to her, I said, when did you discover you had left it at home? She said, earlier today. I said, well, why didn't you tell me? She said, you just seem so busy, I didn't want to bother you. Some vacation, huh? I had numerous people say, what are you going to do when you grow up? When are you going to become a real pastor? How many of you have had that one? When do you get to be a real pastor? And yes, I see that hand, Eric. Thank you. The worst one was my own father. He would call me up and say, what's going on at work? And I'd say, well, we got the fall basketball all lined up. The coaches are recruited. They're trained. We're ready to roll. We've got 7 different craft classes going on. We've got a dinner theater that's going to happen, and the senior adults are going to Niagara Falls. And it would be silent for a second, and then my dad would say, they pay you for this, right? Not well, Dad, but they do. They do pay me. In the 1970s, there was a comedian that came up with this great line. He would talk about something with his wife or his family, and he would end each of his little one-liners with, story of my life, I get no respect. Rodney Dangerfield was his name. If you want to get risque while you're on the road, Google him. If you're on your church account, go to the Ridgecrest computer and do so. Some of his stuff is a little off, and I only know about him because I've read a lot. Story of my life, I get no respect. So I meet with my pastor. It's time for our annual evaluation. And I said, Pastor, we need to rethink my job description. He says, what's wrong? I said, I'm doing more with number 17 on the list than I am 1 through 16 combined. And he said, well, what's number 17? Anyone know what it is? All other duties as assigned by the pastor. And he said, well, Dave, that's because I know you'll get it done. And I said, well, why am I the lowest paid minister on staff then? He said, come on, Dave, you're the rec guy. How can I justify to the finance team to give you more money? I said, well, then ask those other guys to do it. He said, well, they're busy with real work. Thank you, Pastor. Story of my life. No respect. We oftentimes are the lowest paid, despite the fact that we're in charge of buildings that open at 5 in the morning and close at 10 at night. Despite the fact that we take overnight trips with people, that we're there on Saturdays, and the finance team looks at it and says, well, but they're the rec guy, they're the rec girl. Story of my life. No respect. Some of you are playing well, thank you. There's this expectation that we're supposed to do all that we do in sport and recreation ministry and then do everything else. They want you at the men's ministry items. They want you involved with women's ministry. And they just tug and pull, and they have these unrealistic expectations about what you're supposed to do. I got in trouble once because we were having our Halloween alternative carnival. We called it the funny face, and Halloween is one of those words. Let's just add that to the cuss word list, can we? So it's just one of the other H words. You can't say it anymore. But we had the Funny Face Festival, and the pastor got on to me. He said, you didn't look busy. You were just sitting around talking to people. I said, well, what needed to be done that wasn't getting done? He said, I don't know, but next time just look busy. Story of my life. No respect. It's almost like we're supposed to be some kind of a superhero, you know? I'm a big superhero fan. But with us, the letter S does not stand for Superman or Supergirl, and it's not the sign of Kryptonian hope. How many nerds are with me that know what that one is? Okay, thank you. Yes, yeah, preach. Superman, preach. The S stands for sports ministry man or sports ministry girl. And ladies, I don't know why the superheroes are always girls and not women. Wonder Woman did finally break the ice and grow up. But your sports ministry girl, your sports ministry man, listen. Here's what they expect. Forget speeding bullets, okay? Just forget speeding bullets. We expect you to be faster than a deacon's decision to remove a pastor. Lose the locomotives. We expect you to be more powerful than a room full of Awana parents. Forget the tall buildings. We want you to leap tall, unrealistic expectations. If any of these fit you or you have experienced those at times, you may need a REACH gathering. Symptoms include pity parties, feeling unloved, feeling unwelcomed, feeling overworked and underpaid. It's good to be here, isn't it? It's been 2.5 years. Can you believe that? 2.5 years. In that span, my favorite NFL football team won a Super Bowl and then played in another one. We don't talk about the last one as much. Just a lot of things have happened. I was at a cyber conference. How many of you did a cyber conference during the last 2.5 years? Anyone? Chad Payne, you did, because I sat in on your seminar. It was very intelligent. I don't remember a thing you said. Well, he uses like words, and I wasn't there. It's just been weird, and we've set up this time in our world where zooming out used to be a photography term. And now, stay with me here, now we shudder to think. Okay. This will surprise. The stand-up comedy career never worked for me. I don't know. I don't understand. We are zoomed out. I did the Zoom conference today, and for a year I taught through Zoom. And someone said, what's it like to have the kids back in the classroom? I got to tell you, it's so much better putting them to sleep in the room than it is for them to shut off their cameras. There was one time I closed out class, and I looked at the screen, and there's like 12 names up there that are not leaving. So I got back on the microphone and said, guys, class is over. I got to shut it down. Still no movement. One of the students said, what's up with those guys? I said, they're the ones that logged in, killed their camera, killed the mic. They're having breakfast at IHOP right now while we're in here. Then I thought, why am I telling you guys in the classroom this? There were 11 there that day. The next time there were 6. IHOP's business increased. We're zoomed out. We're tired. We're worn out with this thing. We've learned how to talk in broken English. Here's a typical Zoom call. The topic for the now, if you think that's crazy here, just wait till you hear from the Facebook Live people thinking, oh my gosh, something's wrong with my computer. We're fine, folks. It's part of the gig. And you always had to say, can you hear me now? We played that one stupid phone commercial over and over again, and people would disappear and come back, and sometimes they'd kill their camera, and I always thought they're sneaking off for the bathroom. You know, they make it look like they're doing some kind of work, but they're getting another drink or coffee or something. We've just been in this tough time. Some of us are just tired. We need a break from all of this stuff. Some feel underappreciated, overworked. Some of you come to this gathering with pastors or committees that don't understand you, or you even feel like they're out to get you. Some of you have been so busy doing the church thing that you've never been able to just sit down and actually worship. And it's hard sometimes because you sit in the worship center and someone comes up and says, do you know what time our game is on Thursday? And customer service-wise, friendly-wise, you've got to deal with them, but you just want to be there in worship. We're tired. Some of you are here and you're worried about your job. Things are iffy back home. Some of you are having relationship difficulties, either with friends or with spouses. And your departing words to come up here were not good. Some of you are here with a hidden sin. And been there, done that. And you're sitting there thinking, if I get smart enough, no one will know. Let me tell you something about skeletons in the closet. They know how to pick locks, and they get out and they dance at the most inopportune times. Some of you have come with something that you're hiding, and it's killing you inside, but you know if you tell someone and you have to get honest with yourself, there's all kinds of consequences. I would not be here today had God not walked me through those consequences. It's a safe place here. Are you frustrated with a pastor? It's a good gathering to be at. Are you frustrated with your spouse? This is a good conference. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh. Some of you have a nagging feeling in your spirits, like you're wondering, why didn't that church invite me to work with them? Why am I still stuck at this one that I've been at for 5, 10 years? Why can't I move elsewhere? I want your church. I want your position. And then they wouldn't even look at my resume. I lied on the resume. They still wouldn't look at it. And it's just a place where we are. Well, let me just tell you, there is hope. There is hope for you. Regardless of how you came to this gathering, there is hope. But, okay, stick with me on this one. But you have to reach out for it. I want to share with you a story. This is one of my favorite stories in the Bible. It comes from 1 Kings 19. 1 Kings 19, 1 through 8. Before I read through it, let me give you some background. The prophet Elijah has set up a battle versus the 100 prophets of Baal. And I'm telling you what, this is a battle that UFC marketing would have had a heyday with. You know, are you ready to rumble? I mean, this would have been the contest. They built 2 wooden altars, and Elijah let the prophets of Baal go first. And so they started calling out to their God. You know, light the thing on fire. Please light the thing on fire. And it kept going on, and nothing happened. So Elijah, I love this. This is prophetic trash talk. It's in 18 verse 27 if you want to look back at it. Prophetic trash talk. So Elijah starts hollering at the prophets of Baal. Maybe you should shout louder. He can't hear you. Perhaps he's daydreaming or sleeping. This is on my all-time favorite. He says, maybe he's going to the bathroom and can't hear you. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's something. You're in trouble for God. And all of this talk, and so nothing happens. They start cutting themselves, doing everything they can to appease this false god. Nothing happens. So now it's Elijah's turn. And he's not just bold enough to ask God to strike the wood and turn it on fire. He gets water in the time of a drought and soaks the wood so much that there's no possible way it will burn. How many of you have been camping and tried to light a fire with wet, soaked wood? Yeah. You know what they call campers that keep doing that? Dead. It's just hard to do. He lights it so much that it filled a trough. The water soaked through the wood, filled a trough around it, and then he said, "Oh God, this is your time to shine. Light this baby up." And kabam, fire came up, and the prophets were so scared, they started running, and yet Elijah and his people, they killed all of them. Now, Ahab was the king of Israel at that time, and Jezebel loved these prophets. And she was not too happy about it. So let's read along in 1 Kings 19, 1 through 8. When Ahab got home, he told Jezebel everything Elijah had done, including the way he had killed all the prophets of Baal. So Jezebel sent this message to Elijah: "May the gods strike me and even kill me if by this time tomorrow I have not killed you just as you killed them." Jezebel, somehow or other, always gets on personnel committees in churches. I don't know how that works. But she's ready. Sorry, that may have been... Can we strike that from the Facebook Live? It's just, there's always people there that have the wrong feeling. And you have them. You're a sports ministry, and most people love you, but you've got some people in your church that are thinking, why are we spending money on just kids playing ball? That's just so wrong. And so they're the Jezebels in amongst us. All right, back to the scripture. Elijah was afraid and fled for his life, which is so funny. He's just used the power of God to make fire out of nothing, but Jezebel says, "I'm going to kill you," and off he goes. So he fled for his life. He went to Beersheba, a town in Judah, and he left his servant there. Then he went on alone into the wilderness, traveling all day. He sat down under a solitary broom tree, and prayed that he might die. This is what he said: I've had enough, Lord. Take my life, for I am no better than my ancestors who have already died. We've prayed that kind of prayer. Get me out of here, Lord. Just get me out of here. Elijah was down. Then the angel of the Lord, then he laid down and slept under the broom tree. But as he was sleeping, an angel touched him and told him, "Get up and eat." He looked around, and there beside his head was some bread baked on hot stones, which I like to interpret as donuts on the hot stones, and a jar of water. So he ate and drank and lay down again. Then the angel of the Lord came again and touched him and said, "Get up and eat some more, for the journey ahead will be too much for you." So he got up and ate and drank, and the food gave him enough strength to travel 40 days and 40 nights to Mount Sinai, the mountain of God. There he came to a cave where he spent the night. From this point on, Elijah got a message from the Lord to anoint a new king for Israel, Jehu. David, Solomon, and Jehu are the only kings in Israel-Judea history that were actually anointed and appointed by God. The others were either through a deadly coup or by the son of a king coming in. And so Elijah got the opportunity to set up the new king. He also got the wonderful opportunity of turning his job over to Elisha. And so it was not over for Elijah. It's not over for us either. But this is what this Reach Gathering is calling us to. It's called the ministry of the nap and the snack. Now, the reason for the ministry of the nap is that's why I'm the first speaker, by the way. So go ahead. I tell my students, based on my church work background, if some of you don't go to sleep, I doubt my effectiveness as a communicator. And so, some of you are already there. Thank you. Thank you for that. Take a nap. Listen, you're away from home. I know you have to answer email and you have to answer some of the phone mail and stuff, but you know what? Take a break. You're in the wilderness. You're in the mountains. Get somewhere. Spend some quiet time with God. Sleep as you need to. And the ministry of the snack. Listen, we have Reach round tables here, although there are no round tables in the room I did my round table. But there are round tables in town at places like the Blue Ridge Biscuit Company. There are tables at the German restaurant, Berlinder Kindle. My Father's Pizza is a great place. I mean, they actually serve round meals. There may be a time, even the meals here, take a chance, take some relaxation, eat some food, enjoy yourself. This Reach gathering is a break from all of the COVID craziness and the pandemic pooping, okay? This is your time to have some relaxation. Here's how I would say it. So while you're here, reach out. Reach out and seek help in whatever you're hurting with or whatever you're hiding. Find someone you can talk to, find someone you can trust, and inspire others by your own truthfulness, by your confession. Reach forward and offer friendship, encouragement, or assistance. So affirm others while you're here. Reach across and meet someone you don't know. Very few of you I ever met that wasn't dealing with some kind of gathering. John Longworth and I worked together first, that's one. I think everyone else I met at some kind of gathering. And I'll tell you what, some of the friends that I hold dearest to my heart are sitting in this room right now. In fact, if I beat you to heaven, I'll be waiting for you with the donuts and the barbecue. You know that's going to be good stuff up there, don't you? I mean, can you imagine how good Simon Peter is on a grill? Just something. Take that chance. Reach across. Meet someone new. Greg Linville, for goodness sake, 1996 was when you and I first met. That was 25 years ago. You were 7, I was 5. And just incredible. So meet someone new. Don't stay in your own circle. I understand there's comfort in our own circle. But occasionally get out and find out who someone else is. And then reach across. Oh, I said that one. Reach back. Reach back, because the theme we're going on is remembering. And all of those things we talked about, all the negatives of being a sports and rec minister, yeah, we can remember those. But you know what? As we remember those and we reach back through that, we also have to recognize the awesome, unbelievable calling that we have. There are a lot of problems in this world. We are more divided and diverse now than probably ever before. You know the answer to that problem? It's a two-pronged answer. Jesus is the first one. That's the Sunday school answer, they say. They said the class said they were describing an animal, and they said, what's gray, has a fuzzy tail? The kid said, well, it sounds like a squirrel, but it must be Jesus. Well, Jesus is the actual answer on this one. Jesus is going to be the solution to diversity problems and to division. But you know how Jesus is going to get to the masses? The beauty of the culture of sports. It's something that draws people together. When I'm sitting in a stadium watching a game, I don't worry if the person is Muslim, Jewish, black, white, or whatever. We just cheer for a team. When I'm playing a pickup basketball game or a game of table tennis, I'm not worried if the other person is Hindu. We're just going to play. And you know what happens? Relationship happens. A lot of the people Jesus ministered to and witnessed to was done on the establishment of a relationship. I know he spoke the Sermon on the Mount, he fed the 5,000, but more times than not, Jesus was a one-on-one with a person. We have an unbelievable calling. So my prayer for you is that you'll go along with me as I go through this word reach. And I just had some fun. Thesauruses are wonderful things. When I write recommendation letters, I go to the thesaurus because I can find like 7 different ways of saying, yeah, this guy's good or this girl's worth it. So, just here's a few things that came up with. So the letter R stands for remember. That kind of is a theme that we're going with. Remember who you are. Remember who you represent. Remember where you came from. Remember those things that you fouled up on so that you don't foul up on them again. Remember. It might be a time that you just need to relax and take it easy. You've got a couple of days where some of you are not responsible for anything. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. Some of you may be renovating. Some of you may be rejuvenating. Some of you just may need revival, and this is a perfect time to get it. Some of you need to recuperate. You're worn out, you're tired, you're ill of what's happening. Some of you need to refresh. The letter E, some of you need encouragement. This is a good place for it. Some of you need to empower yourself or empower others. Some of you need to embolden those that you work with so that you're not the only one that has to do things. Empower the volunteers and staff that you have working with you. Energize yourself. Go back to your original excitement. That's where some of that remember comes in. The excitement of when you first thought about doing this as a ministry. Remember how that felt? It was like, I remember my words, contrary to what my dad said. I thought, they'll pay me for this? This is cool. Remember those things. Get that excitement back. The letter A, acknowledge. Acknowledge who you are. Acknowledge the sin that may have a grip on your life. Acknowledge what God can do with you by freeing you of that addiction or that power of that sin. Adoration. One of the beauties about being in gatherings like this is just that aspect of worship. Because you don't have to answer questions about camps and sports and other classes before or after. And if you do, it's because you brought it up and not because someone's after you for information. Worship, adore like crazy. Increase your ability. You're here to learn some new things. Take advantage of that. And broaden your awareness. Just look for the areas and the places that God is working in your life. The letter C. Some of you need some more creativity. Some of you need confession. You need to get something off your chest or talk through something. Some of you need connection, and that's why we're here. And the letter H. Some of you just need a holiday. Again, relaxation. Some of you need to look at the history of where you are and your church and where they are with their sports ministry. Some of you just need honesty. You need to be honest with yourself, honest with God, and then eventually honest with a trusted friend. Some of you are here because you can help others. And finally, all of us are here because we need healing. We need healing from a time in this world that has just been a struggle and been tough. The Apostle Paul gave us this hope. He said, I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. The battle is not over. I heard one speaker once say, God provides everything we need. If you don't have something right now, it's because you don't need it right now. You don't need that bigger church. You don't need that bigger salary. Otherwise, God would get it for you. What you do need is a group of loving people that will walk with you, that will connect with you, that will become your people. And that's who we are and why we're here today. Let's pray together. Father, you've pulled us together from different parts of the world. You've pulled us together with different backgrounds, different baggage, different needs. And Father, we pray that these days at the Reach Gathering will be one in such a way that it will become one of those spiritual markers of life. That we can look back to the Reach Gathering 2021 and say, I remember that. That's where God moved in such an amazing and mighty way. I pray that take place in each heart that's in this room and on Facebook Live with us. In Jesus' name, amen.
The Ministry Misfits podcast is a production of Overwhelming Victory Flicks, Overwhelming Victory Radio, and Ministry Misfits Media. Dr. Greg Linville and Andrew Fouts are our executive producers, and Brandon Simmons is associate producer. Our music is provided by Morning Light Music and is titled Rain. If you would like to get in touch with us, you can email us at ministrymisfitmedia@gmail.com or by following @ministrymisfit on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can support Ministry Misfits at anchor.fm/Ministry Misfits or for FO1c3 credit by going to csrm.org/donate and selecting Andrew Fouts in the campaign menu. To learn more about Overwhelming Victory or to listen to our sister podcast, visit overwhelmingvictory.org.